All right, welcome. Think of this as a strategic briefing on the most sophisticated, intelligent, and battle-hardened defense force in the entire universe. And it's operating inside you right now. Let's get into it.
So, to really get a handle on this force, you first have to understand the territory it defends. Your body isn't just a single thing, it's a bustling universe of 37 trillion cells, an entire ecosystem that's under constant, perpetual siege. This is the story of its defense.
Now this defense system, it's really got two main branches. First, there's the innate system. You can think of that as the standing army, the city walls, the guards on patrol, the guys who respond immediately to any disturbance. But today, our briefing is focused on the elite unit, the adaptive immune system. These are the special forces. They learn, they adapt, they remember, and they are absolutely devastating.
You know, in any war, the first rule is simple. Know your enemy. If we want to understand our defenses, we have to start by analyzing the invader's strategy. How do they plan to get past our walls?
So what you're looking at here is the enemy's entire game plan. It's not just one single attack. It's a whole campaign. It kicks off with colonization. That's just setting up a beachhead on our shores. From there, they launch the infection, the real invasion, where they start to multiply and push past our defenses. And the final objective? Disease. That's when they start causing noticeable, systemic damage.
Let's break that invasion plan down a little further. Step 1, adherence. They gotta find a way to latch on. Step 2, colonization. They multiply, they establish that foothold. Step 3, invasion. This is the breach. But Step 4 is where they get really clever. Evasion. They use stealth, camouflage, and even decoys to hide from our first responder patrols.
So, you've got this sophisticated enemy using stealth and subterfuge. How in the world do our special forces respond? Well, not with a single plan, but with a beautifully coordinated, two-pronged counteroffensive.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. These are the two branches of our attack. On the left, you've got humoral immunity. This is our Air Force, our weapons factories, going after enemies floating around in the open, in the fluids of our body. And on the right, that's cell-mediated immunity. These are the ground troops, the assassins. Their job is to hunt down our own cells that have been hijacked and turned into enemy factories.
Okay, let's talk hardware. The main weapon for our Air Force is the antibody. And this is not some dumb bomb. It's a precision-guided smart missile. It can physically block a virus from getting into a cell. We call that neutralization. It can act like a net, clumping invaders together to make them an easy target. That's cross-linking. Or it can just paint a giant target on an enemy, a process called opsonization that basically screams destroy this now to other immune cells. The sheer versatility of this weapon is what makes it such a game changer.
But here's the thing. A powerful weapon is totally useless without good intel and crystal-clear rules of engagement. So how do our forces get the signal? How is the alarm sounded to launch a massive targeted attack without causing a ton of friendly fire?
I mean, really think about that for a second. In a teeming metropolis of 37 trillion of your own cells, how do your assassins possibly know which one is a traitor that's been compromised and which one is a loyal citizen? The risk of making a mistake is just catastrophic. The precision required is staggering.
Well, the answer is just brilliant. The body has its own identification friend or foe system. Here's how it works. Almost every single one of your cells is constantly showing a status report on its surface using a molecule called MHC I. It's like they're holding up a little sign that says, hey, here's a sample of what I'm making inside. If it's normal stuff, patrols just move on. But if that sample is a piece of a virus, the sign effectively reads, I've been compromised, eliminate me. But our professional defender cells, they use a different sign, MHC II, which sends a totally different message. I've captured an enemy. This is what it looks like. It's time to mount a defense.
So let's trace the chain of command on this flowchart here. When that key commander cell, the helper T cell, gets that mounted defense signal, it becomes the central coordinator of the whole battle. It is the linchpin. It activates the assassin ground troops. It orders the B cells to start churning out those antibody weapons factories. And it supercharges other defenders, like our heavy-duty cleanup crews. It's just one cell giving the order that unleashes the entire counteroffensive.
But here's where it gets truly incredible. Winning the battle is only half the victory. The real strategic genius of the adaptive immune system isn't just winning the war. It's what it does after the war. It's all in the after-action report. This graph just shows it all. The very first time we encounter an enemy, you can see the primary response is kind of slow. It takes time to build up, and it's relatively weak. We get sick.
But look at the secondary response. The next time that same enemy dares to show up, the response is immediate, it's massive, and it is completely overwhelming. The invader gets crushed before it can even think about setting up a beachhead. That right there is the power of immunological memory.
And that simple principle, faster, stronger, more effective the second time around, well, that's the entire strategic basis for vaccination. A vaccine is, in essence, a training exercise. It's a war game for your immune system's special forces. It lets them study the enemy's playbook and build up that critical memory without ever having to fight the real, deadly war.
Of course, any defense system this powerful carries immense risks. What happens when the targeting computers fail? What happens when the system breaks down and you end up with a civil war?
Well, that's autoimmune disease. It is a catastrophic failure of that friend or foe recognition system. For reasons we're still figuring out, the special forces start to see loyal, healthy cells as the enemy, and they launch a devastating, sustained attack on the body's own tissues. It is, quite literally, a civil war.
Then you have something different, hypersensitivity. Now, this isn't a case of mistaken identity. It's a massive, disproportionate response. The system correctly identifies something foreign, like pollen, but it treats this harmless dust like it's the plague, launching an all-out assault that causes all the collateral damage we feel as allergies. It's a complete overreaction from a hyper-vigilant defense force.
Okay, so for the last step, let's zoom all the way out. These exact same principles of conflict that we're seeing inside one single body, they scale up to the entire planet. A low-level, persistent insurgency in one region of the world, that's an endemic disease. A sudden, major offensive in that region is an epidemic. And when that conflict spills over and spreads across continents, you have a pandemic. You have a world war.
And that leaves us with a final, pretty important question. Our internal immune system is an absolute master of surveillance, of communication, of rapid response, and strategic memory. It has been perfected over millions and millions of years. The real question is, can we say the same thing about our collective global immune system?